From Epstein's island to Obama's inbox, Trump's dark diversion strategy is my daily take over at HartmannReport.com today. When the walls start closing in, Trump doesn't lawyer up. He doubles down. Well, actually, he does both. But what's going on right now with this whole Trump team and saying that Barack Obama is guilty of treason? This is not about justice or the truth. This is a deliberate psyop, a psychological operation designed to try to hijack the news cycle and enrage the MAGA base and erase Epstein's name from every chyron in America. And that's, it appears that Trump actually believes, and he's putting into place now the actions to move this forward, actually believes that if he can convince the media to take this seriously, that we have evidence that Barack Obama committed treason, that will be a big enough story to blow Epstein off the pages, off the front pages. He's tried everything. I mean, he's tried doing his tariff rants. He's tried cutting deals with other countries. He's tried going back to Hillary's emails. I mean, he has been playing all the hits, sitting there at his console, pushing every distraction button he has, and none of them have worked. We're still talking about Epstein. And so now what are they doing? They're busily assigning investigators, FBI agents, lawyers, and others in the Justice Department to find everything they can that might implicate Barack Obama in any kind of crime, particularly something that they might be able to call treason. It's wild. I mean, it's also going back to the Russia thing, where we know that in 2016, according to a report that was signed off on by Marco Rubio, Republicans in the Senate said, yes, Russia did influence the 2016 election in a way that helped Donald Trump. Yes, we have that officially from both the GOP, well, not the GOP as an institution, but from Republican senators and Republican members of the House. They all signed off on this thing because it's obvious. I mean, Russia. Putin admitted it. He was asked by a reporter, did you interfere in the 2016 election to help Trump? And he said, yes, I did, because Trump said that he wanted to repair relations between Russia and the United States. Who wouldn't? Why wouldn't I do that? I mean, it's like you have a confession. But, Trump has tried to say, oh, no, this whole Epstein thing is just like the Russia thing, which is true. They're both true, apparently. But, they're both hoaxes. Yeah, right. So where does this go? And why is it that this is so sticky? There was a new study that was just published in October of last year, just a few months ago, 9 months ago, in the Journal of Research in Personality. It was titled Malevolent versus Benevolent Dispositions and Conservative Political Ideology in the Trump Era. And what these researchers did is they said, here's a quote. Autocrats manifest socially aversive personality, including malevolent traits in the dark triad, narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism. And the same has been found for Trump. Similar results have been found for authoritarians' loyal foot soldiers. Thus, it is not surprising, perhaps, that voters with aversive traits tend to prefer aversive political figures. In other words, the authoritarian followers of Trump are just as authoritarian as he is. It's just that he has leadership characteristics and they don't. They're just followers. And then they point out that there's numerous studies that have found that people with malevolent dispositions, in other words, people who have this kind of negative, hateful worldview, are drawn to conservative political philosophy. This is all too familiar to me. You wake up with a scratchy throat, congestion, runny nose, and cough. You know your body. You know you're getting sick, right? Well, what are your choices? Tough it out, get sick, and take time off work? Hope the doctor can see you this month? Wait 2 hours at urgent care and have people cough all over you? Or open your medical emergency kit like mine. I just match my symptoms to the doctor-recommended prescription, start at the right meds, and nip this thing in the bud right now. This is not a first aid kit. It comes with doctor-prescribed meds to treat dozens of common and serious medical issues. Strong antibiotics for infections of all types, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, bronchitis, and a lot more. Plus, a doctor's easy guide so you'll know exactly what to take and when. No waiting to see the doctor, no waiting at the pharmacy. My meds are in my kit. Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit. You can get $35 off at urgentcarekit.com/Tom, Tom, when you check out. That's promo code Tom at urgentcarekit.com/Tom. So what is a malevolent disposition? Well, first off, a malevolent disposition reflects wishing ill will or doing harm to others, while a benevolent disposition involves intending or showing goodwill or kindness to others. A malevolent disposition is measured via aversive features of Machiavellian manipulativeness, psychopathic callousness, and narcissistic self-absorption, all negatively associated with empathy and positively associated with antisocial behavior. And then they go on. What does this mean for politics? Well, they say a political candidate, again, I'm quoting from this study, a political candidate who boasts about being able to shoot someone can be understood in terms of a malevolent disposition. We seek to understand the voters who embrace such a politician and propose that insight may be gained by examining the links between malevolent dispositions and political ideology. Taken together, we propose that more extreme malevolent dispositions are necessary for understanding today's modern incarnation of conservatism that includes a positive view of Trump. In other words, conservatives are a little ill, shall we say. And they even go beyond that. I mean, they basically say that the people who are most extremely mentally ill, the psychopaths, are the most enthusiastic about Trump. This is, again, quoting from the study. Across two different samples, we found a positive association between conservative ideology and a positive view of Trump and malevolent dispositions. For white men, psychopathic propensities predicted conservative ideology and a positive view of Trump. Get that? Psychopathic propensities predicted? Thus, the current results add to a growing literature on a link between malevolent or aversive dispositions and conservative ideology. Moreover, our results are in line with Barber and Pope in 2019, who found those tied to a Trump symbolic ideology were most inclined to be uncivil to others. This was people who wore MAGA hats, for example, the symbolic ideology. And the results from both samples found that latent psychopathic and malevolent disposition means, the averages, were significantly elevated among individuals who viewed Trump favorably. Right. Now, they did note that among women and among black people, this was not the case. That about 20% of the population, regardless of race or gender, are authoritarians. But the authoritarian women and the authoritarian black people, by and large, mostly black men, tended not to support Trump. And they asked the question, why? Well, because these people have been the victims of right-wing authoritarianism. They've been the victims of social dominance orientation, what's called SDO. And they, again, from the study, longitudinal research suggests that race/ethnicity may moderate the associations of right-wing authoritarianism and social dominance orientation with conservative political behavior, and gender might moderate the association between personality and conservatism, with a stronger association for males than females. These moderating effects may be due in part to the fact that right-wing authoritarianism and social dominance orientation are linked with, and here it comes, racism and sexism. So, black people and women have experienced this firsthand. They're more likely to say, no, that's the wrong thing to do. But white men with their little bubble of white privilege throughout their lives, no idea. So given that, Trump's base is basically mentally ill, this study kind of nails it, or at the very least, antisocial, suffering from antisocial personality disorders. Will accusing Obama of treason be enough to get Trump out of his current problems? Well, I think with his base it will. But the problem is his base is only 15% of America. It's a small, it's a small part of the overall Republican Party, and the Republican Party is only 24% of America. So will it work? I don't think so. I don't think it's going to work with the larger, group in Congress. I think that, America is going to call Trump's bluff. I think, in fact, it could even backfire. And, you know, the other question that I have is this going to be the thing that finally causes Obama to stand up on his own 2 feet and start fighting back? I mean, he didn't when they stole Merrick Garland from him. For a whole year, he was essentially silent as Mitch McConnell, you know, just refused to hold a hearing for Merrick Garland. So will this cause Obama and then presumably also, or hopefully also, Biden and Harris to stand up and say, wait a minute, there's something wrong here? Or Clinton and Bush, for that matter. Or will J.D. Vance get his shot at the presidency that he so clearly seems to crave? What do you think?